All right. I think we go ahead and get started. I'm really excited. First, I would love to start with just an introduction of the webinar. So this is the second in our series of monthly webinars from Mobius Consulting. We are talking about all things project management, AI intersection, what it means for your business, whether you're a small, medium, or even enterprise scale business. These are all relevant. Today, we're going to be focused on why you might still be babysitting AI and what Agentic AI really means for you and your business. Before we even get started, I'd love to give a very short introduction of myself. My name is Benjamin Finn. I'm the managing director of Mobius Consulting. I work with businesses to help them roll out transformations, whether that's agile transformations, AI transformations, digital, you name it. We work with companies to make sure that their transformations actually stick. Change management's complex. The world is complex. Your project doesn't have to be. I don't need to go over my credentials. Been doing this for quite a long time. You can tell by the grays that are forming in my beard, but let's go ahead and jump into the webinar. I know that's what you're really waiting on. Today, we are going to be discussing a few very interesting topics, all centered around Agentic AI. First, I'll be discussing what Agentic AI actually is, how you can get real ROI from Agentic AI, and why your implementations are failing and how you can avoid it in the future. Why your implementations might fail. I don't want to make an assumption. Finally, I'll give you some tips on how to find and implement your very first agent. Some of you might have already done this before, but these tips could still be applicable to future agents. What I hope that you'll leave with, end of the day, is a clear definition of Agentic AI, a clear framework for identifying your first agent, and the 3 failure modes that I want you to avoid before you build anything. These are the 3 most common things that can cause failure. Finally, I'm going to leave you with our great Mobius AI Agent Readiness Scorecard. This will be delivered to the inbox of those who've signed up directly. It will also be available in the description through a link into the Mobius website. I'll get into what that means later on in the webinar, but we'll be pretty excited to share it with you. First, what is Agentic AI? Now, I'm sure a lot of you tuning in, you know what it is. You've heard it before, but for those of us that might be a little less certain about what it is, I'm just going to quickly go over it and the differences between standard AI tools and Agentic AI. Very simply, a standard tool. This is the ones we've been using for everywhere for years now. This is your standard interface of Claude, of ChatGPT, of Gemini. You prompt it, send it one question, maybe a few questions all at once, ask it to do one task right at that moment, and it gives you an answer back. You have a conversation back and forth. It simulates a chatbot. Well, it is a chatbot, but it simulates a conversation where the person at the other end is helping you do what you ask it to. Not that AI is a person. We're not getting into that, though. This is best for singular tasks. You give it a set of data. You say, hey, I want you to analyze this. Hey, I'd like to know the answer to what was the score from the football game last night. Agentic AI, that's a bit more modern. That's something you definitely have been hearing about for the last year. this is more akin to the future of this technology. This is more like what you get when you think about Jarvis. Now, we're still very far from a Jarvis. For those of you who don't know, that's the AI bot in Iron Man from Marvel. But we're very, very far away from that. But the AI agents are something that you can pre-program. You can say, here's a trigger. Here's what I want you to do when you receive that trigger. And here's what I want to happen at the end. You train the AI like you might train an assistant to do a very specific singular task. It requires human involvement only at the setup and at the review. Human in the middle. This is something very important in current AI. AI is just not there yet when it comes to being able to do things without any human corrections, without any human involvement. One very simple agentic AI that I built, actually this was a couple years ago before the term agentic AI even became a thing, was a tool that when I received an email into my inbox, based on the subject, the inbox, which this is a standard technology in most inboxes like Google and Outlook, it would actually apply a label. So if I receive something related to tax, let's say, it would apply a label tax to it, so I can come and check it out later. In this case, it might be from clients. I would have a label of AI response. Claude was checking for that, and every time it received a new Outlook item that said AI response on the label, it would draft a response for me. It would drop it in to the conversation, to the draft box, but it would not send it. This is important because if you have a AI agent that actually sends it for you, what if it says the wrong thing? What if it says something that could actually be detrimental? What if it goes crazy, hallucinates, and responds to the IRS that I committed tax fraud? Now I'm liable for that. So we really need to be careful. I liked having it drop into the draft box. That was super useful for me. Saved me lots of time because I didn't have to draft the first draft. I just let it make it and did my edits. Confirm the information, click send. Now, I'm also going to talk to you. Let me tell you a story. This is a pattern that I've seen multiple times, and this is going to get really into the heart of some of the issues that I found with Agentic AI and how people implement it. First, I had a client years back. This was not actually about Agentic AI, but they had a dashboard. They spent 6 months automating it. They had the information come in. They had the information be analyzed in a standard way. They had the information spit it out into a nice, beautiful dashboard. It took a long time. And in the end, it was delivering daily to leadership, to the team members, saying, hey, here's your information, here's your dashboard, make your decisions. And yet, the team ignored it. Decisions stayed manual. In fact, people didn't trust the information so much that they just kept calling suppliers and the originators of that data, the logistics companies. Now, 6 months of work to produce no ROI. At that point, they brought me on. They asked me to do analysis, figure out what can I do to save this project. Well, I went in and asked a few questions. It's very simple. Why aren't you using it? Now, leadership, this goes into project management a bit, but people don't always want to tell leaders exactly the truth because they don't want to be culpable. They don't. So I'm sure they were telling their leaders when they went to ask, no, we're using it, don't worry. But that's not really what happened, because they knew that calls were still happening every day. Well, I found out that the problem was the data itself. The data was the bottleneck. The report wasn't. The process was the issue. What was happening was they didn't have the latest data. So what I did was help put together an API connection, pull in all the latest data. We tagged it onto their dashboard. Suddenly, 1 week of additional work, including the UAT, ROI was happening. But if they hadn't done that, they wouldn't have gotten any benefit. So remember what's really critical. Agentic AI just accelerates what already exists. It doesn't fix problems. Think of it as if you're building a factory process to build something, to build furniture. If you don't know how the furniture is made, it doesn't matter how good the line is, doesn't matter how good the factory is, the furniture is still going to come out broken. Next, I'd like to talk to you about where AI delivers the most ROI. So how can you get the most bang for your buck based on what I've seen? This is number one. I think a lot of people are using it this way, have been for a long time. With Agentic AI, it supercharges it. Lead and client follow-up, whether it's email, Telegram, WhatsApp, Line, anything that can connect, where you find your clients, that is where you want your Agentic AI to be. What this can do, especially if you have a large scale, is it can handle the first touch and the qualifications, and then the routing as well. It can ensure that people aren't forgotten, the follow-up happens, and do it all without wasting your team members' time. I had a client recently, we worked on Agentic AI together. What they wanted, they were a volume business. They wanted to make sure that what they were receiving was only good quality clients, because they got a lot of window shoppers, a lot of people coming in, just asking questions, just saying hi and disappearing. The Agentic AI, the bot just responded, asked a couple of human designed questions, right? Sounded human, seemed like a real person, and then delivered a analysis. Said, hey, this is a quality A. Step in, human needs to step in immediately. This is a quality B. They're looking, seem interested, but who knows? Step in when you have some time. This is quality C. They're pretty much just window shoppers. You can ignore them, respond if you have any free time. By focusing like that, the humans were able to, the human team members were able to actually really respond to what people were thinking and what people were saying without as opposed to being spread far too thin, right? As opposed to being just spread out between the window shoppers and the looky-loos and the uncertain people. You only have so much energy in the day. This lets you focus. Business operations and oversight. Fantastic way to use it. Analyze your emails. When you come in the morning, it can give you a full brief of what's happened, conversations that have happened, what you need to do for the day. This is highly important. There's a famous company out there that actually, it was a very small company. They did it with the understanding of the team members, because you got to be very careful with confidentiality and privacy. But the AI would analyze all Slack messages, all emails, all discussions going on, and provide the CEO with that output every morning. So it understood what was going on in the company. So they understood what was going on in the company. The CEO at the time was still human. Hopefully now they're still human. But that saved them a lot of time. But as I said, be careful. Be careful what you're doing with this, because you don't want to violate anyone's privacy. Make sure they're really well aware that these are being monitored. If it's business tools, they should be aware. This can also help with managing projects. It can help with understanding delays and bottlenecks that are happening, and allow the PMs and the leadership and team members to just step in quickly and efficiently. Finally, internal knowledge and routing. There's a lot of knowledge bases out there. Imagine if when you're having a conversation with a client, it's automatically surfacing the information that you need from the knowledge base. It's saying, well, hey, 6 months ago, another team member solved a similar problem to this. Here's how it did it. And it gives you that in the very first email that you receive. So you already know how to fix the problem. You don't have to go do research. Your team members have more time to focus on delivering higher value, solving more problems for more customers, and just generally doing more. These three are a little bit complicated, and not necessarily what I'm going to recommend you do your first AI, but this is where you should head to. This is your biggest bang for buck. But before we get into what you should do, I want to be careful, and let's talk about what you shouldn't do. What breaks Agentic AI? First, too much autonomy too fast. Have guardrails, human in the middle. I cannot express how important this is. AI is not ready for that sort of freedom out the gate. Eventually, after it's earned it, after it's proven out of 10, 20, 100 times it has not failed, after you've fixed all the edge cases, then you can start to give it that autonomy. At the beginning, make sure you build that in. It still saves you lots of time. Remember, it covers that first draft really well. But don't try and run before you can walk. Don't try and do everything all at once. Next, automating a broken process. I mentioned this a little bit ago. An agent executing a bad process will just produce bad results. Junk in, junk out. That's the famous saying, right? So fix the process first. Go in, make sure that you know what you're doing, make sure that the factory line is stabilized, and then you automate. Sometimes that means you don't even touch AI until the middle of the project, because you need to know clearly what you're doing. You need to have clear definitions, clear guidelines. Really important. Don't forget that human element that at the very beginning. Speaking of the human element, no owner at go live. This is very similar to the first one, but a little bit different, right? It's not just about the guardrails. It's about what do you do when agents drift, the prompts degrade, the APIs change. Even after you've removed those guardrails and you said, hey, this is perfect, the AI is doing really well. Make sure you still have a dashboard, monitoring system. Make sure you still have an overseer of some sort, because how often does the model change? Is the new model reacting the same way? Do full smoke testing every time a model changes. Personality might change as well. Right. Those are the three things you should focus on. And just as an example, let me talk to you what I've seen before. We've seen at Mobius this. There was a large-scale procurement workflow, fully automated. It was actually doing a bit of ERP work, some PO generation, notifications of vendors. It took well over 6 months. I think that's an underestimation level of complexity there. The automation handled the standard flow only. The idea was, well, 70% of the items actually handle the standard, are handled by the standard flow. But even with Agentic AI, even with automation, When you push things in, sometimes a human still has to push things in. They have to add in the data, they have to massage the data, they have to do whatever is needed to get the information in there, which means work still goes into it. They didn't do anything about the edge cases, which didn't meet the standards. But like in Pareto's rule, 80-20, although in this case 30%, because if you know Pareto's rule, you know it's not a hard rule, it's a guideline. But 30% of the volume never made it in, just broken processes, just edge cases. We'll handle it manually. They actually found they didn't save a lot of time because they still had to do a little bit for the standard, but the standard was actually flowing pretty smoothly. What was really needed was to automate the edge cases. They never bothered to fix the broken processes first. That was their main problem. And because of that, they didn't really save much in the way of time. All right, let's get into what you're really here for. I've been talking a lot about what you should and shouldn't do, about the edge cases. Let's start. How do you think about your first agent? The baby steps for your first agent. 1, pick the right task first. Pick something that's high frequency, low judgment, a stable process with clean, clear data. Guess what? I know we all want to do something fancy at the first time. We want to automate the entire company all at once. But get it right. So pick something easy first, right? If you're going to build a house, you don't start thinking, well, I've never done any woodworking or metalsmithing before. Might as well just build the house. You should start maybe with a birdhouse, something smaller. Think about things in learning steps. Next, define the failure modes before you build. What does wrong look like? How will you catch it? Think about these things in detail, right? People often think about, well, what does success look like? Be positive. Well, guess what? Be negative too. Think about what might go wrong. What are your edge cases? What are the points where the AI needs to escalate to a human? Define these very clearly. Document the entire process. Then, once you have it, run it supervised for at least 30 days. Make sure a human reviews the output, every output. Log the edge cases and work to improve things. The agent scope expands and starts to cover the edge cases and gets freedom only when they've earned it. Reliability over speed. I cannot emphasize that enough. Quote to remember: run it narrow, run it supervised, earn the right to expand. An agent you trust is worth 10 agents you have to babysit. Hopefully I don't have to explain that too much, but that just means that you can churn out all the amazing, beautiful agents that you want. But if they don't actually do anything, it's not very valuable, is it? If they're not actually saving you time, they're just there looking pretty. So pick the right one, focus on it. Reach out to me. I'm happy to give any advice. But one of the first things you actually need to do once you've picked the right one is you need to pick the right platform. Or before you even pick the right one, actually, figure out the platform. Now, you have to ask yourself a few questions. 1, what technical capability do you have in-house? There are so many agentic AI platforms out there these days that you really need to think very carefully. What can you actually do? Some of them can get very complicated, right? Some of the no codes are easy, Zapier, Make, but then there's something like N8N or a custom API. Can you actually deliver on those? If you have a whole IT team, that's different than if you're 3 people with no IT background, but just a passion. So answer that. Next, what does your existing tech stack look like? Different tools interact with different things. Hey, Copilot may not be my favorite. For those of you that have been to my trainings before, they know I don't love Copilot. I think it's been left in the dust, but it is probably the best if you're focused on the O365 stack. Salesforce, same. If you got Salesforce, you want to be using Agentforce as much as possible. If you've got to interact 5 different platforms, look at Zapier, look at Make, look at N8N. Understand what you need to integrate. Not all AI tools are built the same. Finally, how complex will your agents need to be? Something simple? Hey, Zapier. I like Zapier. Simple is not a bad thing. It's actually very hard to make something simple. They say you don't really understand something unless you're able to explain it to a 4-year-old, a 4th grader. I think a 4-year-old may not understand a lot of things, but those with 4-year-olds don't at me. I haven't had a 4-year-old yet. How come? So multi-step agents may need something more complicated. Reasoning agents will need AI really built in. Think through these things, answer these questions. There are so many more agents out there than the ones that I have listed right here. But really, these are some of the top ones. N8N, those of you that are familiar with it, highly complex AI-first automation tool. You need to know how to use it, right? It can have code built in. I mean, there are simple ways to use it. So some of you might be saying, that's not too complex for me. Oh, perfect. Claude, Cowork, or Code. These are great tools. I use them regularly. They're really good AI agents that can just build so many things and work with you in your laptop. Zapier, we talked about Copilot and Agentforce, something custom as well. Think through, answer the questions from before. Once you've decided on the platform, you kind of figure out where you want to go. Remember, this is broad strokes. This is not just for your first one, because you don't want to have 5 different agent platforms, right? This is for where your overall grand picture. Once you've got that, I'm going to recommend you use the Mobius Agent Readiness Scorecard. Now, bear with me while I pull this up. All right. Share screen. Fantastic. So, let's get rid of my, I don't want you seeing my bookmarks. Might see something silly I look at. So, AI Agent Readiness Scorecard. This is Mobius built. We actually used Claude Code to build it. It's available for free for everyone at aireadiness.consultmobius.com. Put in the task that you want to evaluate. Then we have 5 questions. Example task. Process stability. How consistent is the task? This is asking you about how consistent the task is before AI, right? It changes constantly? That's a danger. We'll go with strong in this case. Frequency. It occurs weekly. This is important because the number of times it occurs, the frequency shows how quickly you can iterate and improve on things, how quickly edge cases may pop up. Judgment required, human level judgment, common sense or beyond. Well, low. The rules cover most of it. Failure tolerance. What happens if things are bad? Well, it can cause legal, financial issues. Then you probably don't want AI involved in this. I can't emphasize that enough. But at least not without a lot of human involvement. strong. It goes very few. It doesn't. Errors are okay. Sending something to a friend, something that you can move on from really quick, something internal. Data quality. How reliable are the inputs? How much massaging normally needs to happen? Well, moderate. Once you have all these, get a score, 18 out of 25, some advice, a nice little spider diagram here, and you can book a call with us if you'd like. Just click on that. You can score another task, so that if you want to compare tasks to pick your first, you can save it as PDF and put your details here. They'll show up in the PDF, but also I will let you know, you'll get into our lead funnel and we will reach out only in this case. Really want to emphasize the privacy note here. We do not, let's go back to it. We do not collect or store your scores, task details, or any usage data. There's nothing in here that we keep. If you choose to submit the contact form, we keep just your name, company, and emails. Nothing else. We will reach out. Come here when you want to compare your tasks. You can see a little more details, a little more advice on the results, and look at a few examples. These are just canned examples that we already have for you. I hope you enjoy this. This is free for everyone. Give me your feedback. Let me know what you think about it. Be very excited to hear. Now, if you don't mind, we'll go ahead and continue. Your potential first agents. The first agent isn't the most impressive one. It's the one where wrong is obvious and the process works. It's not fancy. Do something simple. Contract and renewal monitoring. You already have a big table, put that table in. A lot of people track this. They say, hey, when do we actually need to renew this? When do we need to make decisions by? It can escalate things 1 month before, a week before, say, hey, this is expiring. Do you need it? It can let you know that taxes are going to be due soon, each step of the way. This is important. But it's internally facing. It's low risk because if it gets it wrong, well, maybe it's off by a bit. Hopefully you've got some backup routines just in case, in cases of tax. So the low risk is the important thing. Request triage and internal routing. Things that classify your incoming ops, support, and procurement requests and send it to the right team. Worst case that happens there, goes to the wrong team. That team's a little annoyed, sends it on to the right team. But it can save lots of time. Finally, ops reporting and exceptions. Pulling from existing systems, companies, giving you a structured summary, flagging anything outside the agreed threshold. This sort of operations can be very valuable. Keep your first agent internal as much as possible. I know these are not fancy, but really think about what you can do for the first time. Next, recognize that not everything needs AI. Blasphemy, right? AI is the future, but it doesn't have to be everywhere. Signs that something can use AI, it's ready for AI, happens daily, is consistent, inputs are clean, output is catchable, and the process is stable. But alternatively, if it requires human context, human thoughts, because remember, AI knows what you know, what you've told it. It doesn't know what you know. You have decades of knowledge in your brain, understanding pattern recognition, understanding thousands of things that you've experienced. AI doesn't have that. AI can do its best to recognize things, but especially if you haven't told it, given it this context, it doesn't have that background. Don't assume it does. AI is not yet smarter than us. It just knows more baseline things. The process changes regularly. Data is messy. You haven't documented everything, or an error can cause significant damage. These are signs you do not want to put AI in the middle of this. If you can't hand it to a new hire with a one-page brief, you can't hand it to an agent. Really good guideline to follow. All right, we've reached the end. Everyone, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for those who attended. Thank you for those who are watching this after the fact. Just a quick review, what we've talked about. Agentic AI is a different category. It's not a better chatbot. In fact, it chats with you less. It's a system that monitors, decides, and acts. Implementations almost always fail for non-technical reasons. The technology is, to a degree, there yet. AI is not, but if you know what it can and can't do, technology is very much there. The problem is often giving it too much autonomy without covering the edge cases, the broken processes, the lack of ownership. This stuff is predictable. Avoid it. Finally, your first agent should be boring. Just remember that. High frequency, low judgment, stable process. Don't look to impress, look to get it done. All right, everyone, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everything. I wish you well, and I'll see you in a month. Adios.